Hey everyone, GuardianE here with another live reaction and first impression video in Fire Emblem Heroes. The new trailer just dropped for the new heroes that we should be getting on the 10th, and the banner's name is Darkness Within. So that's all we know at this point. We're going to start the trailer, watch it together for the first time, and see what these new heroes are all about. So let's get started. Could it be Valencia? It is Valencia! Oh wait, it's like a combination. Wow. Okay, the Blades Pawn. I just saw Berkut and I got really excited. Okay, the Blades Pawn, Mareeta. Okay, Infantry Sword Unit, Shadow Sword, Luna, Flashing Blade 4. Oh boy. Let's see what that's about. A progression of the blade skills. Oh, Berkut looks so cool. Purgatorial Prince. Okay, Cavalry. Lancer. Makes sense, makes sense. Oh, I like his sprite's like little kind of lackadaisical pose where he's just kind of staring up. That's neat. And was he just like laughing? That's so cool. Oh, that attack animation is neat. Alright, so we're gonna have Wailing Soul. Interesting. Okay, that Sencha art for Corrin again. She was going to be a dragon. It looks like a colorless dragon. Alright, so we've got Dark Corrin here. And finally, we have Torpid Dragon. Interesting art by Lack. So armor, colorless dragon here, Tiki. I may have made a mistake. Corrin may not have been colorless. We'll have to go back and watch it again. That same sprite. They really need to... They needed to do something else with Tiki's sprite. Because... Oh, wow, that animation, though. The beam. That dragon beam. Okay. Interesting. A Home Unknown. New story chapter. And just see if they're... Nope. It's just Dark Alphonse back there. So... whatever his name is. So it doesn't look like there's going to be any, at least they're not revealing here, any new free unit on the banner. So there are 4 characters on this banner, basically going to be the equivalent of the Fallen Heroes, I guess, of this year. So that's really interesting. The characters look neat. I mean, they're all alts except for Mareeta. So starting on the 10th, of course, and then no end date. I think it's probably going to be a 30-day banner. Not entirely sure, but yeah, there are 2 colorless. So there are 2 colorless dragons on this banner. That is an interesting choice. So no greens. And if you're interested in dragons, colorless might be the color you want to snipe on for this banner. Alright, so we're definitely going to rewind, take another look at these heroes, and what skills they bring to the table. Definitely saw Flashing Blade 4 in there, which I'm curious to see what that's all about. So let's take a step back, look at the heroes again. At least from first impressions, Berkut looks awesome. Corrin, that Sencha art, Sencha always does a fantastic job. One of my favorite artists in the game. Lack has a very interesting and unique take on Tiki. And I think it makes sense, given that they're going for like this dark Tiki. She has kind of this despondent look, and it really does fit. And Mareeta is a new character. So let's rewind, take another look at these heroes, and see what they're all about. Definitely pretty good art on this banner for sure. So the Blades Pawn, Infantry Sword User Mareeta. Okay, so let's pause here. So she's got the Shadow Sword, a 16 might personal weapon, can't be inherited, accelerates special trigger cooldown -1. So it has a slaying edge effect right off the bat. If unit's HP is greater than or equal to 50% and unit initiates combat, unit can make a follow-up attack before foe can counterattack. So that's pretty interesting. She gets an automatic sequential attack on offense as long as her HP is above 50%, and then if she had Desperation on her B slot, that would cover the remaining 50% basically, so that anytime she initiates, she will always be able to attack twice in a row before the enemy can counterattack. So that's pretty powerful. I'm assuming she's going to be pretty darn speedy, especially considering that she has Flashing Blade 4, which we'll get into a little bit later. Luna, at a 3-turn cooldown, scales off of the enemy's defense and red stat as if reduced by 50% during combat. Flashing Blade 4. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Unit speed is greater than foe speed, grants special cooldown charge +1, and deals 5 damage per unit's attack. If unit speed is greater than foe speed, grants special cooldown charge +1, so the Flashing Blade 3 effect, and grants +5 damage per unit's attack. Only highest value applied does not stack. So I'm guessing that the text at the end, the only highest value applied does not stack, applies to the charge effect. So you can't just like stack flashing blades for one thing. So I'm assuming that's what that's all about. So rather than when I first saw Flashing Blade 4, my immediate reaction was it's going to be a +2 charge, which would have been ridiculous. That as long as her speed is above her opponent, she'll get a +2 charge per attack. Thankfully, that's not the case. It's just +5 damage, which is still very good. It's still very strong. It's essentially 5 additional attack. And it might even be true damage based upon how this is reading. So what that means is that true damage being if she were to deal 0 damage against a high defense unit, she'll still do 5 damage from the effect of Flashing Blade 4. At least that's what it looks like here. So that's a pretty powerful effect. Really just a strict powerful upgrade to Flashing Blade 4. And it also takes care of one of the downfalls of the blade skills on the A slot. The A slot is reserved for stat boosting skills a lot of the time, so that's why the blade skills are so good as seals, because the A slot is so important for boosting the stats to make sure that the blade skills proc as a seal. Flashing Blade 4 instead has that condition of needing higher speed, but at the same time it provides an additional utility of doing more damage, which is, again, something that ends up being missing if you're using the blade skills as the A slot. So Null Follow-Up 3 for the B slot, a natural choice for any unit that naturally doubles, since it seems like she's going to be a pretty speedy character, similar to Legendary Alm, who relies on their speed stat, as well as doubling. A Null Follow-Up will allow them to bypass Wary Fighter effects, Mur's weapon effect, basically enabling them to be able to double and bypass those skills that prevent double-up attacks. So definitely a powerful kit here based upon speed and player phasing. It certainly seems like Flashing Blade 4 is a natural and a good improvement to blade skills in the A slot, because of course you're seeing blade skills used less and less on the A slot, of course, because they just work better as a seal, like I just mentioned, and the A slot is just often reserved for boosting those stats. So big improvement there, I think. She doesn't have her own C slot, so she doesn't have a full kit, but the fact that she has Flashing Blade 4, Null Follow-Up, as well as her own legendary weapon means that to the extent that there is a demotion on this banner, it's not going to be her. So let's keep going. Take another look at her attacking animation here. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. The Shadow Sword itself looks nice. Alright. Oh, Berkut's art looks amazing. Okay. And Asatani Tomoyo's art. So let's pause here. I also like how in the art you can see Renea there. I would have kind of liked to have seen Renea as a character on the banner, but unfortunately we're going to have to settle for her just kind of looming behind Berkut, I guess. Kriemhild is a 16 might weapon. If a bow, dagger, magic, or staff foe initiates combat and unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, unit can counterattack regardless of foe's range, and foe cannot make a follow-up attack. But after combat, if unit attacked, deals 20 damage to nearest ally. Weird. So I guess that's supposed to play off of him kind of using Renea? I don't know, but essentially, as long as he has an ally within 2 spaces of him, he gains distant counter. He also has kind of like a Wary Fighter effect, so he prevents double-ups against him from the ranged foe, or really any foe, it looks like, right? Because it says, if unit can counterattack regardless of foe's range, and foe cannot make a follow-up attack. Yeah, so it's all of the conditions for this weapon are that he's attacked by a ranged unit. That's especially unusual to me, because what that basically means is that the weapon gets no bonus effects if he's not attacked by a ranged unit, which is just sort of odd. There are a lot of effects here, don't get me wrong, and a lot of interesting effects, but that means that if he's just initiating in a melee bout, he gets no bonuses from his weapon, if I'm reading this right. So if ranged unit initiates combat and unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, unit can counterattack, so he gets distant counter, and foe cannot make a follow-up attack. So the foe can't double him, but after unless of course they have null follow-up, in which case it becomes a speed check. But after combat, if unit attacked, so if Berkut attacked, deals 20 damage to that ally, or one of his allies, I guess. Very strange. You could have some interesting plays with this, I guess. Because, like, for example, you could use this to actually strategically lower the HP of one of your allies in order to activate a skill, an HP threshold skill. So that's kind of that would be a unique take on it. But it's just the original Berkut in the game and Berkut's lance was based around tanking magic. Many a Berkut was sacrificed for Effie's out there, as many of you know. So it's I guess it's an extension of that. I don't really like how he gets nothing if he's not only if he's not initiating. So nothing on player phase and nothing if he's engaging on a melee unit. It seems I could be reading that wrong, but it does seem like that is the case. Reprisal 2-turn cooldown special boosts damage by 30% of damage dealt to unit. Warding stance 4. Okay, so we're getting at least 2 tier 4 skills here. If foe initiates combat, grants res plus 8 during combat and inflicts special cooldown charge -1 on foe per foe's attack. So it has built-in guard. Only highest value applied. So that makes a lot of sense. Stance skills, they're trying to improve the stance skills and giving it a built-in guard. I totally understand that and endorse that. It makes a lot of sense. So, and that obviously synergizes with his weapon, because his weapon is really centered around enemy phasing. The bonus res, obviously catering towards ranged. So, makes complete sense to me. Odd res wave 3, once again for a C-slot choice. On odd numbered turns, grants res plus 6 to unit and adjacent allies for 1 turn at the beginning of that turn. So Berkut really looks like just a mage tank. It really does seem like that is going to be his role, at least with respect to his initial kit. He does not come with his own B slot. Very unique. Definitely not an all-rounder. Berkut here with this kit is not going to be he's not going to be a one-man show unless he's basically battling an entire army of mages. It definitely kind of forces him into a specific role, which I don't think is a bad thing. He might be the very best at what he does, and basically countering mages. So we'll just have to see how his stat line plays out. So let's keep going. Take a look at this art, because I think this art is amazing for him. And his pose is amazing too. Look at him. He's laughing. Oh, that looks so good. Alright, so we've got Wailing Soul. We've got Dark Corrin here. What that Sencha art. So, Infantry Colorless Dragon. Oh, she's got her tail sticking out. That's kind of cute. Okay. Savage Breath. 16 might weapon. Grants attack plus 3. That's always a good thing. Grants attack, speed, defense, res plus X. X is calculated based on the number of allies within 2 spaces of unit. Okay. 1 ally grants plus 4. 2 allies grants plus 2. Okay. And greater than or equal to 3 allies grants plus 0. If foe's range is equal to 2, so adaptive damage, as dragon weapons tend to have. Okay, that's interesting. So that's sort of an opposite. So it's obviously, you know, if we take a sneak peek down below, her A-slot skill is a solo skill. So I was about to say, Savage Breath, it kind of acts as a solo effect. Kind of almost an opposite of an owl tome, or I guess the bridal weapons from last year. But basically, the modifier to her stats that's going to grant a bonus to basically all of her stats is going to be based on her being a solo unit. So as long as none of her allies are around her, she will get plus 6 to all of her stats, in addition to plus 3 for her attack. So an interesting take on a new weapon. I can definitely see them introducing more weapons like this. This is the first of its kind, as far as I can recall. So I definitely could see them introducing more weapons with this kind of description in the future that would synergize with solo skills. Dragon Fang, 4 cooldown, boosts damage by 50% of units' attack. Attack speed solo 3, again, synergizes with her Savage Breath. If unit is not adjacent to an ally, grants attack and speed plus 6 during combat. Alright, so let's take a look at this B slot. Sudden Panic 3. At start of turn, if any foe's HP is equal than or less than unit's HP minus 1, and that foe is adjacent to another foe, inflicts panic on that foe. So it's a map-wide effect. It's basically Aversa's Tome, her unique effect, or I should say one of her unique effects, put on a B-slot skill. So that's interesting. So it's a B-slot skill, map-wide debuffs, and we're seeing a lot more map-wide debuffs on the B-slot. First introduced with the chill skills. That's where they first originated on the B-slot. So it looks like they're sticking with this trend of having map-wide debuffs on the B-slot. At the start of the turn, if any foe's HP is less than or equal to unit's HP minus 1, so we'll have to see what her HP stat is going to be. But basically, what that means is that she may benefit from having some HP boosting stats or seals on her in order to promote this effect. But it's interesting that they are taking one of Aversa's unique effects, which is and one of her most dangerous effects, and putting that on a skill. It previously was something that no other character could do but Aversa, and now they're kind of extracting that from her weapon and putting it on its own skill. Aversa does also have, I think, the -3 to all stats debuff in addition to what Sudden Panic would be doing. So it's not taking everything from Aversa's Tome, but it is taking a component of it, and a dangerous one at that. So that's an interesting B-slot skill. You could definitely see its uses, especially in something like Ether Raids. Obviously, in Ether Raids, people are gravitating more towards goads and wards, more in-combat buffs and debuffs, just by nature of the basically panic debuffs everywhere. But at the same time, this is a good insurance policy if you're not using Aversa on your team. So let's keep going. Interesting that she has her own preferred weapon as well, her own solo skill. Alright, so Corrin just has kind of purple flames on her. Sencha's art's always amazing. Alright. And we're getting Torpid Dragon. Okay. Armor colorless dragon. Let's pause here. Okay, so Tiki is going to be the one with the full kit on the banner. Every single one of these units does not have an inheritable weapon, and every one of these units has premium skills. Probably the one with the least impressive premium skills is Corrin, just because she does not have a tier 4 skill, and she doesn't have a full kit. So Corrin is probably the most likely demote of the banner, but quite frankly, I don't know if any of them are going to demote. It doesn't really feel like any of them are going to demote. I wouldn't be surprised if none of them did. So I wouldn't bank on that if that's what you were hoping for in terms of just skipping this banner. But anyway, moving on to what Tiki skills have. Raising Breath, 16 might weapon. It's effective against dragons, which is something we've seen more and more with Tiki's weapons. Effective against dragon foes, unit can counterattack regardless of foe's range, so built-in distant counter. If foe's range is equal to 2, calculates damage. Oh, so it's adaptive damage. That's pretty cut and dry. Adaptive damage, effective against dragons, built-in distant counter. No real frills there, but at the same time, doesn't really need many frills. That is pretty much what you want out of a dragon weapon, and she has it. Ignis is a 4 cooldown special, boosts damage by 80% of units' defense. Brazen attack speed 3. Interesting. So I actually don't remember if she is the first summonable unit with brazen attack speed. Probably not. I'm probably forgetting somebody. I know that Linus has brazen attack speed 3. But she comes with Brazen Attack Speed 3 as well. At start of combat, if unit's HP is less than or equal to 80%, grants attack speed plus 7 during combat. These Brazen skills are really, really powerful. Really powerful. The 80% threshold is just a lot easier. It's only 5% from 75%, but it's actually a lot easier of a threshold to hit for Brazen range, and the boosts that you get as an A-slot skill are phenomenal. It's interesting that she gets attack and speed. That kind of indicates that despite her being an armor, she's going to have some pretty decent speed. So we'll have to see what her stat line is going to be. And that makes a lot of sense if they're also going to give her Special Fighter 3 for the B slot, because the units that really take advantage of Special Fighter 3 are the ones that have pretty decent speed. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Tiki has some pretty good speed stat going on. So Special Fighter 3 for the B slot. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 50%, grant special cooldown charge +1 a unit, and inflict special charge cooldown -1 on foe per attack. So basically on either phase, she gets a sort of a vengeful / bold fighter effect, at least as far as the cooldown is concerned, as well as a guard effect on her opponent. Since she's going to probably be relying on her speed to double, the Special Fighter 3 is just really powerful. First introduced with Brave Ephraim last year, but it's extremely powerful on the units that can take advantage of it. So really, really powerful skill on armors that are able to utilize it, namely armors that have pretty high speed stats. And again, it seems like Tiki is going to have that available. Now, it's interesting because Special Fighter 3, obviously the activation range of Special Fighter 3 is great, above 50% or equal to 50%. Brazen attack speeds HP threshold is below or equal to 80%. So really, you're looking at a very, very short window here where both Special Fighter 3 and Brazen attack speed 3 are both active, essentially between 50 and 80%. Take that for what you will. I think most people are probably going to also ultimately end up swapping Brazen attack speed 3 out of her A slot. It's a phenomenal skill, don't get me wrong, but I think people are going to want to take more advantage of the Special Fighter 3 and just give her some more innate boosts with either a solo or a bond or a breath or a stance or any other kind of skill like that. Unless Solitary Dream, which looks like a unique C slot skill for her, does something about that. So let's take a look at Solitary Dream. At start of turn, if unit is adjacent to only dragon allies, or if unit is not adjacent to any ally, grants attack speed defense res +4 to unit, and unit can move 1 extra space. Interesting. So that's an activated buff. So similar to a legendary Tiki, where she has the with everyone as her unique C slot skill. Basically, as long as she's adjacent to any ally, she'll get +3 to all of her stats, and her allies will get +3 to all of their stats. It's kind of similar to that, except she can only be next to dragon allies or by herself. So either she's with dragons, she's by herself, she'll get, it's only a self boost or a self buff. It's not a buff for her friends, which I guess falls in line with the motif of this being evil Tiki, but she gets +4 to all of her stats and gets an additional movement space. Her being an armor, that means that, of course, she gets to move 1 extra space. That turn only does not stack. I think that's important to note because the does not stack and that turn only applies to the additional movement space. So don't think that you're going to put Armor March as a seal on her, activate Solitary Dream, and all of a sudden have an armor that moves 3 spaces, because I don't think that's going to happen. So it is interesting, though, that it opens up her ability to use another seal other than Armor March, or one of her allies having Armor March. So it has an Armor March effect on a Dragon Emblem team, and even potentially an armored Dragon Emblem team, because we have enough armored dragons where you could certainly make up your own armored Dragon Emblem at this point. And that would synergize with this and let her get an additional movement space. So very, very good C-slot skill. Very, very strong kit overall. Like I said, the Brazen and the Special Fighter don't necessarily gel 100%, but that A-slot skill could easily be swapped out for something else, is probably what I anticipate most people are going to end up doing. But anyway, let's keep going. Very, very powerful kit for sure. And this, this old sprite again. Definitely a cool attacking effect, though. The beam. Alright, a Home Unknown new story chapter, and we already took a look at the map. There's nobody there to really, to take note of. So yeah, we'll be getting this banner in just a few short days. That's pretty exciting, and these units look really cool. I don't know if I'm personally going to be going in too hard on this. If you like dragons, this might be your banner to pull on colorless, because it does look like that is kind of the shining. Tiki is definitely kind of the marquee unit of the banner. Berkut, his art is amazing. He seems like a really unique character. I don't know if people are really going to be going in crazy for him unless they're fans of Berkut, which I don't blame you if you're fans of Berkut. Corrin's powerful. She doesn't have a tier 4 skill, but her kit is centralized around her being kind of a solo agent on the battlefield, which we're seeing more and more in the game. And Mareeta is a strict player phase infantry sword unit. I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, she's just an infantry sword unit. It's been a while since we've gotten an infantry sword unit, just because there is this oversaturation of that unit type in the game. And despite that, it's still oversaturated. I mean, we still have way too many units that are player phase sword units, speedy sword units at that. You have Ira, you have Mia, you have Carla, you have Celica. So you have a lot of different options, and even Gen 1 units that fit that criteria. But obviously, she does bring a lot to the table. She brings a lot of... she has her own unique weapon, as well as new skills to introduce. But at the end of the day, I could see her being kind of a low priority for a lot of people out there, unless they really need that Flashing Blade 4, or unless they really need null follow-up, or if they're just fans of Mareeta. Now, for me personally, I am not going to be going crazy on this. I spent more orbs than I wanted to on the Golden Week plus the Alm banner, and honestly didn't fare all too well. So if you want to watch me suffer, you can go ahead and watch that video on the channel. But really, I'm in orb saving mode. The next seasonal banner is likely to be the Bridal banner, which is always promising, so I would like to save orbs for that. And this banner is going to stick around for a while, so it's not really a huge priority for me. But let me know in the comments below if you're excited for these units. I have to imagine there are a lot of Berkut fans out there that are excited. They may be a little disappointed in his kit, potentially, just because it's kind of an expansion of what original Berkut had in the game, and I think a lot of people wanted Berkut to have a more expansive role. But all the same, it's very unique at least, so I think people can appreciate that. More Corrins and more Tikis. I don't know if anybody was asking for those, to be completely honest. Obviously, they're dark versions, but at the same time, they're alts. So I think there's probably going to be maybe a little bit of backlash with respect to Tiki and Corrin taking up 2 slots on this banner, being alts of characters that have a number of alts already, as well as being dragons that probably could have been other characters instead of these 2. But it is interesting to see dark variations of these 2 characters at the very least, and they are both very popular characters. So let me know in the comments below if you're excited for this banner, if you're excited for these units. If you're targeting a particular unit, let me know who your target is going to be, what colors you're going to be sniping. Hopefully you enjoyed watching the video. If you did, please feel free to leave us a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. We thank you so much for watching, taking some time out of your day to spend with us. We really, really do appreciate it. And until next time, let's protect those skies.